like to call the organizational meeting to order. Roll call.
Mrs. Nazario.
Here.
Mrs. Washington.
Here.
Dr. Ballard.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
Tonight we have General Johnny here
That's right.
to lead us in our pledge.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott?
So I do have the honor of introducing someone that does not need an introduction. I think anyone that's has a pulse knows Miss Nicole Davis of General Johnny Wilson. So she's going to come up, introduce some of her students that are here to talk about, I believe, attendance and maybe some other things too, but they are ready. And at this time, Ms. Davis, if you want to come on up.
But if you could please maybe interject some energy, maybe.
She never has any of that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nicole Davis, and I'm serving as the principal of the General Johnny Wilson Middle School. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing some of my children. Nathan Ruiz, stand up, stand up. I also have Ian Ortiz Matos, stand up. I also have Demaya Johnson, Emilio Posos, and also Jordan Finley. You guys stand up, come on to the front for me. And my students are going to introduce themselves because we're working on public speaking and being able to stand in front of a crowd and celebrate yourself. Ian. Ian's a little shy. Who are you?
My name is Ian Wilson.
And you are?
Be real at General Johnny Wilson.
At General Johnny Wilson. We're being what?
Be real.
We're being real at General Johnny Wilson. Stand up here. Come on, Jordan.
My name is Jordan Philly. I'm an 8th grader.
Slow down.
My name is Jordan Philly. I'm an 8th grader at TJ Credit. I'm happy to be a part of excellent basketball and football program. Looking forward to that 8th grade. My name is John Lewis. I'm an 8th grader.
These are our Stay in the Game participants. Demaya is our Stay in the Game champion. All of these students are amazing parts of our community. At General Johnny Wilson, we're working on being real. We're working on being resilient, responsible, respectful. Our students are engaged in our community. They are academically accountable, and we're building lifelong learners. We are so excited to be a part of the Stay in the Game initiative. It was such an amazing high point for our school, and we're looking forward to being recognized by the City Council of Lorain for all of our efforts to make sure students come to school, stay in school, and want to be a part of the GJW community. We are so honored for General Johnny Wilson, and we do this for him, our only living namesake. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to get a picture real quick. Don't go away.
And again, I know we're here to celebrate some phenomenal students, and I was there cheering for you on the day the Browns came to town. But a real quick shout out to your principal, Ms. Davis, who was nominated by folks in her building. 200 other administrators were nominated around everywhere, and she was the winner and going to represent herself and the Lorain City Schools and General Johnny Wilson at Super Bowl. So, nice job.
And a happy early birthday to my birthday twin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys, for recognizing us.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Jordan. Here you go. Ian, your baby.
Now the boring stuff starts, yeah.
Emiliano didn't make it. Okay. We'll catch you next time. I just want to recognize Emiliano Coco. I guess he got a little shy.
Understandable.
Practicing with the boss. He didn't show up, and because of religious reasons, Kyrie didn't show up either. But those two were an amazing part of our team, and it wouldn't be a team if I didn't recognize Mr. Williams.
Yep, did you come back? Nice, thanks. And again, I want to thank you, and I know you've got a lot of stuff going on at home, a lot of places you could be. Thank you for coming here and letting us celebrate you collectively on TV, let the community share in our celebration of the folks. Yeah, getting filmed back there behind you. Yeah, so it's all going to be at Channel 20 on
Watch it
YouTube.
On YouTube, you'll be
Yep.
able to watch them.
But again, thank you for letting us celebrate you. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate your leadership for General Johnny. To quote Mr. Ferguson down at the end there, that was the fun part of the meeting. The rest's pretty boring. So if you guys want to escape, we don't blame you at all. If you want to hang out, we fully would love to have you. But yeah, it's okay to make a run for
You
it.
can go.
Thank you very much.
We are not offended.
Appreciate it, Ian.
Thank
Thanks.
you for coming.
Right back at you. Thank you. No. We get it. We get it. Busy people.
You're welcome to stay if you'd like.
Yes,
No, she's-
and there's, yes, we do.
Sure, we'll chat afterwards if you want. Give me a number.
Actually, yeah, well,
Thanks.
no hearing of the public in this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First half. We should go right
Okay.
up to the next one up.
At the agenda. We do not have any newly elected board members, so we do not have to do an oath of office for them. We do need to nominate and elect president of the board.
I nominate Courtney Nazario for president.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? I need a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second? Do I have a second?
Support.
And we now need to vote on the presidency, so a roll call.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
No.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
So the board has approved Courtney Nazario as president of the Board of Education for the 2024 calendar year. And oath of office.
Yes. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as board president of the Board of Education of the Lorain City School District of Lorain County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
Congratulations and thank you.
thank you.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yep, take your time. Tell me when you're ready.
Thank you. All right, nominations.
We now need to nominate and elect a vice president of the board.
I'd like to nominate Jay Ferguson as vice president.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations? We need a motion to close nominations,
So moved.
and I need a second.
I don't think he was seconded. Was he? Did somebody second the motion for Jay?
We don't have to have a motion to.
Or to nominations?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, we just don't. Do I have a second to close nominations? Or a second to close the nominations?
Support.
Thank you. We now need to vote on the vice presidency, so roll call?
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
No.
Dr. Ballard,
No.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
The board has approved Jay Ferguson as vice president of the Board of Education for the 2024 calendar year. The oath of office of vice presidency.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as Board Vice President of the Board of Education of Lorain City School District, Lorain County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified?
I do.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks for taking it on.
Yep, let me know when you're ready.
We've got a lot of vice to be president.
We're on 7, yep. You good? You ready?
Go. Thank you.
Currently, our meetings are on the second and fourth Mondays at 5 o'clock here in the board meeting room. I need a motion to either keep those, or if we wanted to change those.
I'll make a motion to keep them because I just read something where council's on the first and the third, so that allows anybody who wants to go to
So that one.
council meeting to go. So I think it would be good to keep it on the way it is.
Do I have a
So,
second?
yeah, that's my
I'll
motion.
second for the exact same reason.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
I need a motion to continue taping and televising the board meetings as we have been taping and televising all board meetings.
So moved?
Support.
A roll call?
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
This is something new. We need to have a date, a time, and a place of the annual Records Commission meeting. So it will be going over, records. And they recommend the second Tuesday in the month of June, and we're gonna say at 9 a.m. in the board meeting room. If it would have to be changed at a later day, or as it gets to June, we could change it as to a special meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
I need a motion, or I would like a motion for a consent agenda vote. So we can
Can lump
condense
items,
the
yeah.
agenda, instead of voting on each one of them separately.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call?
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
A motion to approve items 10.01 to 17.03.
So move.
Oh, support?
Roll call?
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Next up is the Student Achievement Liaison. We need to appoint one board member as the district's Student Achievement Liaison. It's currently Jay Ferguson. So we have to appoint someone. Did we want to keep it as Jay or choose a different member?
Was there any previous discussion or,
I'm sorry?
was there any previous discussion? Is Jay happy with the position?
I'm not sure. Jay?
I'm sorry?
She asked if you were okay with the position still, or?
I have no problem with it, but if somebody else is interested in it, I'm also have no problem
Fine
without it.
doing that? Would you be interested in it, Barbie? I mean, with this, with the student achievement, that is something you're very, and it's working with the OSBA. Is that something you would be interested in?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yes? Okay.
So
Can I have a motion?
I'll nominate Barbie for that position.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have a second? Do I have a
Sup-
second, Barbie?
Support.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Heck yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
And we have the superintendent committee appointments, which we left the same as last year. So I need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Could we have a discussion first?
Of course, I'm sorry.
I think you should, of course, you're gonna keep them all, but maybe you might wanna do this at a later date when you.
Wanna
maybe-
go over
Maybe
them?
people wanna move around a
Move
little
around.
bit or something.
Can we do that, and can we adjust?
Yeah.
Okay.
Approvers now.
I don't believe they need to be board approved.
They don't have to be board approved?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
They're my committees. If they were board committees, as I understand it, they would need to be board approved. But since they're superintendent committees, they do not.
Usually the president doesn't? Isn't that, I think it's.
No.
That's what's been done historically. I've worked with the president
Yeah.
during my time here.
Okay.
Approve for now and adjust if we need to.
Okay, so we'll approve for now, we can adjust if we need to. So if we want to adjust them, if anybody wants to move around, wants to go to a different committee, we'll do it that way. Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Roll call?
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Sure.
And I need a motion to adjourn our organizational
So
meeting.
moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Sorry, yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
All right. Give me a second.
We just need just a couple minutes to let them get organized for the next part of the meeting.
Coffee, tea, anybody? No? All right. Got the carrot right in the back. I can
Oh,
It's all
hang
about
on.
the fine print.
You guys ready? I'd like to call Thursday, January 11th, regular board meeting to order. Roll call?
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Dr. Ballard.
Here.
Mrs. Washington.
Here.
Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
Recognition of visitors, seeing none. First hearing of the public. No public?
No public.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your husband's here. He's
A motion to suspend the Pledge of Allegiance because we have already done it.
Suspend the order.
So moved.
Suspend the order. to-
Support.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes from the December 14th board meeting, and the board waives the right to read the minutes.
Support, so moved?
Support.
Roll call?
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Any old business? Reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
I have items 8.01 through 8.06 for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Reports and recommendation of the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like the board to consider for approval items 9.01 to 9.08, personnel matters.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval items 10.01 to 10.16 in operation matters.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any new business? Oh, I'm sorry. The 11? You should have one. This one, you had 11.
Oh, I'm sorry. In other matters, I'd like the board to consider for approval item 11.01, other matters. Thank you.
So move.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call? Go ahead.
No, if I could just very briefly, again, I just want to thank, you talk about why people want to be board members, and I can assure you it's not for money or glory. It's a lot of work to be done. What the community sees is not what happens. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes in terms of working together to try to make decisions in the best interest of the district. It's not, when things come, they get approved pretty quickly because we communicate very, very well on the matters of the district to find out what's going on. There's a lot of work that happens between board meetings by board members. So to the five of you, I would like to say thank you very much. I appreciate your leadership. And obviously by the vote, it's not everybody's always on the same page, and that's the way it's supposed to be. If everybody was supposed to be on the same page and agree to everything, we would only need one board member. And if they're always supposed to agree with me and Tia, we wouldn't need any board members. So I appreciate the fact that our folks are comfortable leading with who they are and sincerely and genuinely coming to the table and doing what they believe is right. So I just want to thank all five of you for what you do on a regular basis and is easily taken for granted by the folks in the district and by the folks in the community. It's a lot of work, so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Item 12, new business. Do we have any new business to share? Committee reports. Second hearing of the public. Still no public. Our next board meeting will be January 22nd at 5 o'clock here in the board meeting room. And if I could have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support?
A roll call?
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mrs. Washington,
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
All right.